Hello and welcome to the IGN UK Podcast, a show all about the latest video games, movies and TV shows. I'm Simon Cardy, and this week I'm joined by Jesse Gomez.
Hello.
And Matt Perslow.
Hello.
And this week, for 1 week only, we are actually in living colour on the stage of Gamescom because it's a special occasion. We thought, we'd get our faces out. People like to see them. I like to see yours, Matt.
What a rare treat.
I know.
What a rare treat.
Isn't it just lovely? Well, we're going to talk a bit about... We're going to pick a game each from the show that we particularly like playing, and then at the end we'll do a little bit of bits and bobs. I don't think there'll be much time to talk about crisps today. That is our topic of choice. It's a shame. Yeah. We're going to have to talk about video games because Gamescom, it's all in the name, Matt. I'm going to kick things off because I played Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight, arguably the biggest surprise reveal from opening night live. And if people don't know what this game is, it's essentially an Arkham game, the Rocksteady games, but in Lego form, and I think that's kind of what people want to see, and I think they'll be happy to know that I played it, and I pretty much felt like, yeah, this is an Arkham game, but in Lego form, with still that charm, but you've got that tight Rocksteady combat, just you're hitting bricks instead of flesh. We all know I like, to hit flesh. But this time we're hitting plastic.
God, we're barely minutes
into the podcast.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
What would you like to know about Lego Batman?
So, what did you actually experience whilst playing through this game? What was the scenario?
That's a good question, Jesse. What did I do? I played a full mission early on from Lego Batman, and it was set in Ace Chemicals. It was me as Batman with Jim Gordon, and we went through Ace Chemicals tracking down Red Hood. If you're familiar with some of the stories from Batman, you might know what happens at the end of that mission. Maybe Red Hood turns into a different villain. If you've read The Man Who Laughs, you'll know what happens. If you've seen Tim Burton's 1989 Batman, you might kind of know what happens. But that's kind of what they're doing with the story of this game. They're kind of creating their own Batman story, kind of using bits and bobs from all other films and comics and games and trying, eventually I was told by the director that this game, Joker may have this origin story, but later on the story may morph into more of the Heath Ledger Joker from The Dark Knight. So you're kind of getting versions of these characters within versions. It
makes sense for Lego, right? Because Lego is all about pulling bricks together and making your own creations. But it's essentially the bricks of the films, right? And the comics.
What a lovely little metaphor, man.
Oh,
It almost sounds like the pick and mix of Batman.
It's like, exactly. But I enjoyed it. I also got a little taste of the open world, which I only got to play that for 8-10 minutes, but I feel like that's where a lot of people's joy will come. I really love Lego Marvel Superheroes, which was a good 10 years ago at least now, and kind of going around that open world and kind of doing, there's Riddler trophies people will be pleased to see, there's secrets to be found, there's Batmobile time trials to do, that's where I feel like a lot of the fun's going to come. The missions themselves, very fun as well, and we can see here there's a football rolling across. There's that Lego silliness, you can do the stealth takedowns from perches, but instead of just flying down and battering them, he'll land on them with his arse.
Classic Batman, but I want to know how close to the Arkham style combat is it?
It's pretty similar. It's not, at least from my play, not going to be as complex. I don't think there's going to be many intricate button combos.
But you've got the counters, right?
Exactly. As we can see here, you can punch with square if you're on a PlayStation controller, counter with triangle, and then once your meters build up on the left there, you can use R1 to do a finisher. So there's, against grunts, it's pretty standard. Then there's kind of more bruiser, brawler enemies, I thought, which if you played the Arkham games, you'll kind of be familiar with how you fight against them. You want to kind of tease the charge out of them. They'll run at a wall, they'll be stunned, then you hit them for a bit. Or you can do the quick batarang throw, and that'll if you played Arkham games, you're kind of instantly that muscle memory kicked in and you know how to deal with them. But then there's also the Lego side. This isn't just an Arkham game, right? There's the Lego side where there's the puzzles, so you have to switch between the two characters. Jim Gordon, in his lovely Golden Age outfit I picked for him here, has a little foam cannon that you can shoot at pipes that may be spewing out acid, for example. And that means you can then get through that path and solve the puzzle. So if you played Lego games, if you played Arkham games, I think you'll be instantly right at home here. Right. But yeah.
In terms of how similar it is to the classic kind of Lego Batman games, does it feel like a new kind of more of a 3D brawler game that uses Lego, or does it have anything in connection to those old, more, the isometric sort of framed kind of Lego games where it was a lot of like smashing things and rebuilding them together?
It does still have that. So as I was going through Ace Chemicals, which is more of a linear level, I was smashing things and building things to like build a big zip line to get across a certain section. And there was also, as I said, the puzzles to be solved, which has been in I think it's 25 years almost now.
Sure.
Or no, 20 years that Lego games have been made since 2005. They've still kind of got that formula. Here I'm, gliding towards Red Hood. Maybe something bad's going to happen to him. I don't know. I've played it. I could tell you, but I'm not going to. We're probably going to watch it anyway.
What I'd like to know is, what is Gordon doing during these? Okay, we just saw he's got his own glider. So is he just always tagging along, or can
he has a little grapple. You're going to be, because if you're, obviously it's a single player game, but also co-op like most Lego games are. So if you're playing as Gordon, you don't want to just be like the other player is just running around,
just
right?
About.
That's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
I know there's not as many characters in it as a traditional Lego game's got, like, let's say 200 characters. Do you feel like, is it 7 characters that there is?
I think I've said 7 playable characters, which I think at first people are like, what? Like a Lego, I think Skywalker Saga had around 400 characters, which is bonkers.
Presumably they have to be more unique, though, to provide different games, because not everyone is Batman, right?
Exactly. Yeah. There was 400 characters in Star Wars, but I imagine there was 20 to 30 actual different abilities. And I didn't see the same, like, when you normally go through Lego levels, you'd maybe get that feeling of, I need to revisit with new abilities and find out, like, what the secrets are. I wasn't getting that as much, so I think maybe, they are going for the smaller cast, maybe to more ape that Arkham thing of, like, in the Arkham games, you only play as Batman and then occasionally Catwoman, sometimes Harley Quinn. Like, I think they're sticking with the heroes and trying to make it more logical for that hero story. So
maybe to a certain extent a little closer, not to Gotham Knights, in the idea of Gotham Knights obviously didn't pan out to be as great, but each of those characters felt very, very distinct in a way that Lego characters don't traditionally feel that way.
Yeah, and I mean, Jim Gordon can still thump people,
Well, obviously, got to pull out a little bit of that every now and again, but I'm pleased that he's not throwing batarangs, right? It doesn't make him feel he's just Batman in a police uniform.
In a four-man suit.
No. He has his little foam cannon, like I said. He has his thing. I'm interested to see how it all comes together and how, like I said, I only got a taste of the open world. I want to see just how expansive it is, how many secrets there are, because, I don't know, I've been a fan of Lego games ever since they started, really.
Absolutely.
Like many people, I just want a new Batman, like Rocksteady game, and this is as close as we're going to get for now, I think. So, I'm just really excited. I mean, from one plastic Lego bat to maybe one more human-like bat, a vampire bat
of
sorts. The Blood of Dawnwalker, Matt, is a game that you saw this week at Gamescom. Ex-CD Projekt devs, Rebel Wolves, the studio. How much of The Witcher did you see in this game?
Oh, so much The Witcher, and that is not a disparaging remark at all. This is, as you say, it's a game, it is a lot of people that worked on The Witcher 3, along with some, kind of new developers that have joined them at this studio, Rebel Wolves, and you can pretty much see, even like the vibe of like the art style and the graphics has a lot of The Witcher to it. The music, absolutely that kind of Polish sort of Slavic feel that the Witcher 3 had. And yes, it is a fantasy RPG, but there are a lot of differences from The Witcher, which I think is going to build on the strengths of that game. So essentially, you play as a guy called Cohen, who is a human during the day, kind of a little bit like Geralt was. He's got some good swordplay, he's quite into magic, but he's not a regular human, because at night, he turns into a vampire.
Of course.
So he's stuck between these two. He's a little bit like Blade, I suppose, kind of stuck between two worlds. And when I say that he turns into that at night, that's not like a narrative conceit. The game is literally on a day-night system and a month-long kind of like Persona-style system where the game kind of changes.
Said the magic words, Matt.
So it is not a Persona game, let's keep it that, but it has certain elements in common. So basically, Cohen's family, for some sort of reason that I don't particularly know yet, but have been taken. Cohen has 30 days across the game to save them. What you do in those 30 days is completely up to you. But time is a currency in this game. So not everything that you do, but certain things will push time forward. And so for example, the quest that this was a very classic CD Projekt style demo that we saw where they played it and they played the quest in 2 different ways for us across an hour. And so basically, in this, Cohen needed to get a special sword. And they showed us that if you do that at night, because he becomes a vampire, he has all the abilities of a vampire. So he can walk up walls. He can do the plane shifting thing where you can literally walk to the side of a building and walk up it. He can teleport with a blink system. And so while he was doing that, it meant that the sword that they needed to get, which was apparently hidden in this secret catacomb beneath a cathedral.
Of course.
And so basically he used the teleporting to break into the cathedral's library, read about like these secret catacombs, steal a key, and then break into the catacombs. So it was kind of like a stealth sort of scenario, avoiding guards and all of that. Then they rewound time and showed you what it was like in the day, which is where kind of like the concept of spending time became much more clear. Right. Basically, you don't know where these catacombs are, and there's no way to get into the library because it is now more heavily underguarded. But because you're not a vampire with weird-looking teeth, you can talk to humans during the day, and humans are obviously awake.
Is that where more of the RPG elements come in, where you're sort of dealing with like dialogue?
I would imagine that it happens at both kind of night and day, but certainly in the day when more people are awake. So anyway, he went to the cathedral and spoke to the deacon there, of which in that conversation you saw how like certain dialogue choices will push time forward. And so what it is a case of is that like, oh, I can dig deeper in this conversation and maybe find more information out, but it's going to push me from kind of like early morning to late morning.
Or you could just go for like a little brief, quick explanation.
Yeah.
I say I wasn't expecting The Witcher Shenmue.
Yeah.
but that's what we're getting.
And so basically all of your major quests, when you're pushing the goal of the major quest forward, it is ticking time along. And so basically in the quest that they showed us, we helped out the deacon, which meant going down into another section of a catacomb. Actually, we went to an asylum in search of some information for the deacon.
Been to so many places.
Been to so many places.
It gets around.
And then the deacon eventually tells you about these secret catacombs. He gives you the ability to get in there, and then you go down there, find the secret sword, quest over. So 2 different ways you can do it. A bit more of a side questy diplomacy way, or a bit more of a stealth kind of infiltration way.
Narratively, is the character you're playing, is he like a new vampire spawn? Is this something that has just suddenly appeared?
He doesn't even know what he is.
Okay.
Imagine that.
There is obviously a prologue.
Yeah.
There is a prologue that makes it. And this is what I started talking to the developers after this to work out like how the quests are structured and how this time system works. And basically, at the start of the game, after you've done the prologue, there is something that is a bit close to, how Breath of the Wild, when you finish the prologue, you can immediately go to Hyrule Castle and basically go and kill Ganon, but it's going to be really, really difficult for you to do that.
I wouldn't recommend it.
So that is how this game works. You've got 30 days to save your family. You can go straight to where your family are being held, but presumably they're being like hunkered down by a load of incredibly difficult vampires. So the idea is that you play quests.
Okay.
The quests are not, it's not like a quest 1, quest 2, quest 3. There's just a bunch of storylines in the world. And so you can run out of time, obviously, and maybe not do some of those quests. And one of the things they were telling me is the quest that they were showing me ended with Cohen being told, you are a Dawnwalker. You are half vampire, half human.
Right.
You might never do that quest in the entire game, and Cohen will just never learn who he is.
Do you ever have to like have any concerns of like not showing your true vampiric self during the day? I know there's like night and day shifts and stuff.
So it's not obviously. We've also seen Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2 at this, which does have that. Like you have to hide your kind of nature. In this, it's less so because vampires are kind of a bit more present in the world. However, the vampires don't particularly like you, and the more kind of notorious you become through the game, the more you do to annoy them. They'll start building their resistances. There'll be more guards, there'll be more people kind of hunting you.
Right.
There are different, I don't know every system that will come into play, but there are systemic pressures that will maybe force you to maybe take the stealthier route to reconsider.
Okay.
Also, Cohen gets pretty hungry as time goes on, and like you have to feed. He can feed on animals, but it doesn't really sustain his bloodlust very much. If you don't feed him, he might try and feed himself in the middle of conversations. So you might end up just randomly killing really important NPCs.
So
it's we all know how much I'm into this sort of systemic
Yes,
sort of
yes,
nature.
yes.
So it's a very narrative kind of focused RPG with all of these very handcrafted quests, but you could just accidentally murder someone that's important to a quest.
I'm personally a little bit peckish myself,
Yeah.
so why don't we take a little break? I might get a little snack, and we will be back very soon for more from the IGN UK podcast at Gamescom 2025. And we're back. This is a very special Gamescom episode of the IGN UK podcast. We're live in colour again. Our faces are here. Let's keep the show going, shall we? And talk about two of your individual souls' combined passions, which is Resident Evil. You've both played Resident Evil Requiem. Is it looking good?
I mean, I think it's fair to say yes. From the short 15 or so minutes we actually got to play.
The demo's wicked.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, being able to... So the demo takes place in what appears to be some sort of like abandoned hospital, from what we understand.
Yeah, it's like a medical facility.
Yeah. You wake up as Grace Ashcroft strapped to some sort of gurney, you know, blood being pumped out of you, and then now you need to escape. But I think what's interesting with Resident Evil Requiem, and I know that our colleague Dale, who can't be here right now, spoke about this in his preview, is that the shift in perspective from first to third person. And I think what I found really, really cool about that is that it's actually tailored to sort of what perspective you're playing as. So like, if you're going through first person and you're running away from, you know, the big, disgusting, nasty chasing you, then that's going to control exactly as you would expect. But when you're playing in third person, suddenly Grace is going to be, you know, tripping over herself, bumping into different things.
Yeah, I think the thing is, obviously, first and versus third person is like a fairly, you know, continuing debate among the Resident Evil fans.
Yeah.
7 and 8, obviously, very distinctly in first person, you know, working on that PT amnesia style horror.
Yeah.
Whereas, and obviously, the DLC for Resident Evil Village put in the ability to switch to third person.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like the next evolution of that, where kind of like, I think, regardless of whether you liked the classic third person or you're into first, it feels like the game is tailored for that approach, which must be a lot of work, because I know that when we've spoken to developers in the past about you know, offering both perspectives, it's a difficult thing to do. And like you say, completely bespoke animations in third person, and kind of like bespoke, I guess, kind of like the way it frames things when you're from first person, which is my preferred way to play. I found that this demo is essentially you're in a corridor being chased by a stalker.
I was going to say that. This is the first time I've actually seen a glimpse of this unfortunately looking creature, woman. I don't know who she is, what she is. I don't think we know what this stalker enemy is. What the hell is going on with her?
So there's some rumors that it could be Lisa Trevor. I think that's just Resident Evil fans getting excited that there's, you know, a big spooky stalker. But we don't know much about what is chasing us, other than she or they is afraid of light.
Yeah.
So that sort of ties into that actual, you know, the classic Resident Evil safe room, where we are bouncing from room to room. But then traditionally, you know, when you've seen Nemesis or Mr. X or anyone else try and approach a safe room, they'll do like, you know, a little comical shuffle in and then they'll just back out. But with the stalker enemy in this, when she actually approaches the light, her skin burns away. And I feel like that's just sort of a really fun, like, sort of gameplay grounded way of making it
She's
seem
got
like
lovely big feet. I mean, what's going on here? I mean, like, what? Let's explain the visual. For people not watching, just listen. What does she look like? Because I'm struggling to explain what.
A disgusting gremlin that's far taller than yourself.
Like 9 foot tall?
My description of it is if you injected Gollum with Bane's super serum.
I can see that, but also what looks like a very tattered cloth.
A bit of you know, Dobby's kind of like pillowcase.
It reminds me quite a bit of the horrible thing in Barbarian.
That's actually not too far off, and we get introduced to her when a corpse falls out of a cupboard, and then
she bites the head of the corpse off.
But that's the thing. I started this demo in third person, but then it put me into the first person perspective for that cutscene. I thought that was a really smart choice.
It knows which perspective to use to give the because some cutscenes are done in third, so if you're in first person it pulls the camera out of your head. But the stalking side of it, obviously we all know that I'm obsessed with Alien Isolation, and it does feel that like with each iteration of stalking enemies, Rez is kind of trying to push for something that's a little closer to that. So for example, she can burst through doors, she can if you kind of like manage to get away from her, she can essentially climb up into a crawl space above the ceiling and then drop down in front of you.
How big are these crawl spaces? Just the size of a house.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean,
Resident Evil like houses are traditionally massive anyway, so who knows who designed this?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen people comparing them, just from me watching this footage for the first time, I am seeing a bit of that PT, almost a bit of Silent Hill in there.
Yeah.
This is obviously a demo. I don't know if this is going to be in the final game, what's being seen here. Very much the survival part of survival horror. Not seeing much of the action side of Resident Evil. Do you think that's being kept from us at the moment?
Yeah, I can imagine so, just because obviously we've primarily been seeing Grace's perspective in first person, but I can imagine preferably the action elements of Resident Evil, typically over the shoulder third person, like in the Resident Evil 4 remake. And I can imagine they're holding off for now. Who knows who's going to be joining Grace in her adventures, but I can imagine it might be someone like Leon, considering we've seen, destroyed remnants of the RPD station.
My feeling is that it's either a demo, and I would hope these sections are in the game.
Yeah.
But it's House Beneviento style stuff. I feel like, the moment-to-moment Resi experience is almost certainly still going to be Resi, right? It's got to be about managing your inventory, figuring out how to get your herbs, keeping all your ammo in a box, and shooting lots of zombies. This will be the thing that breaks up the flow.
Yeah.
What is your favourite herb?
I mean, you know what? Red goes well with a lot of different herbs.
Yeah.
So I
was talking more just in culinary.
I'm locked in.
I'm a rosemary guy.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
put some rosemary on some.
Yeah.
No, sage, a little bit too on the heavy savoury side for me. Oregano is good.
Should we talk about more games?
Yeah.
I played a game called Hollow Knight Silksong. People have been waiting for it.
I heard that Dale headbutted someone so hard to play Silksong he couldn't get on that.
I was going to say next week. Dale was meant to be this podcast, but he headbutted a wardrobe.
Yeah, he's got a massive ouchie boo-boo
so
with a humongous
Jesse has kindly stepped in, and I think done a stellar job so far.
Thank you.
But yeah, Hollow Knight Silksong. It's a lovely little Souls-like Metroidvania. If you don't know what Hollow Knight is, where have you been? I mean, it's a good game, beautiful art style. I finally got to play it after, 6 to 7 years of waiting?
I think it was 6-7 years of waiting in a line.
I waited over an hour in the queue to play for 20 minutes. It's... I don't mean this in a bad way. It's more Hollow Knight, and that's good.
That means I'm going to struggle. I can't do the jumps in Hollow Knight.
Can you? Do you know what, though? You might like this one more because it's you can now mantle on the edges.
Oh, excellent.
That's actually a game changer. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. It's very good. I don't want to spot. It's out in less than 2 weeks now for people.
Yeah.
I played a couple of the sections. I played the first level of the game, which was called Moss Grotto, and that was simple. That was very much a reintroduction to Hollow Knight, the platforming. At that point, I only had just the the needle and a jump ability, and took down the first boss. Then I jumped into a later area called Deep Docks, which was much more complex in design.
Right.
It was the labyrinthine design you'd expect from Hollow Knight. A lot of mechanical elevators and levers to try and get around. I had one go at that boss called Lace, who was this sort of balletic sword dancer. Tried it once, didn't get very far. That's going to be difficult. I think I've heard people say this one feels more difficult. It's so hard for me to say from this little section, but I do like the feel of it. I like that Hornet, the new protagonist, is kind of bigger in the frame. You feel more imposing, whereas the last game did feel more like a fight for survival at every opportunity. This one felt a bit more like I can go toe-to-toe a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, the art style is it's completely timeless. And I absolutely love the first few hours of Hollow Knight, and then the moment you've got to jump over spikes, it becomes a little bit too much. But I'm terrible at 2D platforming.
Let's get through more of these games. Who wants... Matt?
Hello.
The Expanse. I've heard it's pretty large, but how much mass effect is there?
God, yeah. So this is Owlcat's new game, and they obviously traditionally have made isometric RPGs.
Yes.
This is massive. They completely are open to the fact that they're building on the idea of Mass Effect. And
I do like that's a theme this year. We're kind of getting games from developers they're not giving you what you want, so we'll give you a version of it.
Yeah. And this is it's a 3D combat kind of forward RPG. Lots of conversation, kind of it's obviously based in the Expanse. It's set parallel to kind of the first couple of books. uses the TV's art style,
Yeah.
and so it is a hard sci-fi kind of game, which
Okay.
means you're not going to get the space wizards, which has me questioning a little bit, like, will the combat just purely be guns? Because what they were showing us was just assault rifle, but you do get the rocket grenade. Have you seen the rocket grenades in the
I
Expanse?
haven't had a look. No.
The idea is so you can actually fight in not zero-G, but very low gravity situations.
okay.
So there was a section they were showing us where like you're mag-locked onto the side of a spaceship, space station, and fighting, but it means that obviously when you throw a grenade, the grenade would just float off.
Yeah,
if it
of
were
course.
So grenades in the Expanse have rocket thrusters on them, so they just propel themselves towards enemies.
It looks absolutely lovely, but I think more importantly, what I'd like to know is, do I need to have that prior knowledge of what this world is to go in?
So I am a casual fan of the Expanse,
Okay.
and my memory of those kind of early seasons are fading, and I did recognize certain situations that they were talking about. It takes place in the aftermath of the Eros incident, which is a big part of like season 1, and you hear about like the Canterbury being attacked. I think the idea is this is also a gateway into the Expanse. It is its own story, and those events are just in the peripheries. And so I think like it will have its own crew. It's like imagine if Mass Effect was on the side of a set of books that you didn't know existed.
Yeah, fair enough.
You've kind of, the comparisons have been made by everyone to Mass Effect, and you mentioned combat, but that's not really what I come to Mass Effect for. It's fine in Mass Effect, but it's really the relationships between characters, it's the story writing, it's the quests. Do you get a glimpse of just if that's going to be up to par in this?
I think that's what it needs to prove. I'm sort of expecting it to deliver because Owlcat is very good at this. Their games are like books in that like you spend a huge amount of time with it. This is a shorter game than like Rogue Trader and Pathfinder. They're all kind of like 100-hour RPGs.
Yeah.
This is going to be more around the same length as Mass Effect, kind of like a 30-hour RPG, but in a 1-hour demo, there's only so much you can know. They only showed me one companion, which I thought was quite cool. It was a guy called Jay, who is your sibling, and so therefore their character model is based on the character you create in character creation.
That's really cool.
But the writing at that point didn't feel like it was, at the highs of Mass Effect or even Owlcat's previous RPGs. But
it's hard to experience that in a demo format.
In a demo that's only an hour and mostly was to do with demonstrating the combat and choices. The Expanse is colder than Mass Effect, and not necessarily known for its very lovable characters, but they're always very complex, politically driven characters. My hope is that over the campaign you would get to that point. You'd love the characters even if they're not lovable.
Well, people will get to play that at some point in the future. Jesse, you played something that people only at Gamescom would have got to try, I believe, which is an absolutely bonkers-looking rig for the game PVKK. You're a man who has a place in his heart for Steel Battalion. Are you getting a little bit of that from it?
100%, and I think PVKK goes beyond what everyone loved about Steel Battalion, because not only is it got, and you can see it on screen here, it was a humongous controller setup, with, I think it had over 160 individual buttons and switches you could just mess around with. Every segment of control in this.
And what's the full name of the game again?
I'm not even going to attempt. It's impossible. I wasn't able to do it then. I'm not going to be able to do it now. But if you don't know what PVKK is, you take control of a planetary defense cannon. You get calls from your commandant every single day. You live in what is essentially a little office desk conjoined with a massive planetary defense cannon. It's almost got sort of like 40K aesthetics as well with what you're dealing with. But you get random little calls from your commandant, and it says, okay, today we might have 3 or 4 invading dropships coming to attack us. We need you to blow them up. And then it's your choice whether you want to actually listen to your commandant or not. And then that's where the sort of like papers, please, moral dilemmas take place. Because if you did decide to destroy the aliens, then you're going to get points back. You're going to be able to upgrade your station. But maybe the next day you might get a note from the alien force.
But what's all this like when you actually physically get to press buttons and winds? Like,
I mean, it's fantastic, especially in the early game where everything is still so mechanical. You're going to have to, prime, load, just do every little bit and bob, and if you get it a little bit wrong, then suddenly you're going to have to restart, and then you're going to have to like take out the fuses and start repairing. It's so tactile.
So when you say they're taking out the fuses, did this new rig they built at Gamescom require you to actually slot fuses into it?
Well, they made it a little bit easier, but in the actual base game, if you like overload your power, then suddenly things are going to pop out, things are going to break, you're going to have to repair, and then suddenly you're dealing with these invading forces. There's a lot to deal with.
I mean, I did say we wouldn't talk about it, but we kind of have to. The biggest thing when we come to Germany. What is the best thing you ate this week?
We found a pretty good noodle place, in which I only ate rice because I don't actually like noodles.
Just plain rice?
No, with some very good crispy chicken and duck.
Yeah.
To be fair, I absolutely destroyed pork belly while I was here. not quite pork knuckle. I'll leave that for next year. But some nice pork belly. That sorted me.
I
right
had
out.
my first pork knuckle in about 6 years. It was all right. It wasn't too big. Wasn't too large.
Have you found any unusual snacks in your supermarket rendezvous?
No, we tend to just stick to our Ritter Sports, don't we? We're very just.
I've bought 9 bars.
Yeah, you bought 9 yesterday, which is quite
Dedicated.
excessive. Which one are you most looking forward to tucking into?
Well, there's that new one that's based on their crispy rolls. You know, like those old kind of
we aren't
Mars crispy
sponsored
rolls.
by Ritter Sport. We're just,
If you've listened to our podcast before, this is usually how it ends
3
up
years
being.
ago, I dropped a Ritter Sport on a roof. Do you remember that?
Or during recording a podcast.
Yeah, I know. That's the. Unfortunately, there were no Ritter Sports in our hands today.
No.
Yeah, but there we go. That is it for a very rare look at our faces on the IGN UK podcast. Remember that the IGN UK podcast is an IGN production and part of the Geek Media Network. We'll be back on Friday, our normal schedule, to talk more about what we saw at Gamescom, and we've got plenty more coming up on Gamescom Studio. So, yeah, don't go anywhere. Thank you.